What can destroy a great story? Bad adaptation and weak direction. Episode 4 of Witch Hat Atelier is a really unfortunate example of that. The story is great, but the viewing experience just doesn't land. So today I want to talk about why, from the animation to the pacing to the music, and most importantly, how an anime can become more than just a manga that moves, and instead turn into a second version of the story that feels more alive. The second half of episode 4 is about the main characters arriving in a strange world and trying to avoid the dragon. The goal of this section is clear: build tension, isolate Coco emotionally, and set up a contrast for the later moment when she solves the problem with her intelligence. But the issue is, the part didn't make me feel tense at all. There are 3 reasons for that. First, the pacing gets broken. In the original manga, Tetia flies up to check what's going on, then comes back in panic. Before Agat can even ask what she saw, boom, a dragon suddenly appears right in front of them. That reveal is abrupt. The paneling cuts from a tight close-ups of the main group to the full wide double-page spread. Then on the very next chapter, we get a front-facing close-up of the dragon. The visual impact is huge, but in the anime, Tetia shouts, a giant shadow appears. Even if I had never read the manga, I'd immediately think a huge monster is about to show up. And then the camera cuts to the brim head. That does 2 things. First, it breaks the expectation that something huge is about to appear. Second, he's just sitting there watching. His lines doesn't even suggest he wants to hurt other kids. So the audience's attention gets dragged away to this bystander, and the suspense around the dragon just stalls. Then finally, the dragon is about to appear. But the anime first gives us several slow, heavy, dun-dun-dun footsteps. It's basically announcing, hey, something scary is coming. And then the dragon slowly crawls into the view instead of suddenly appearing. Once we have time to prepare mentally, it stops being scary. The second reason is that the visuals don't sell the threat. Personally, I think the author intentionally set this scene in a pure white space, because the dragon's design is so complex and it can create a really strong contrast. You can see that clearly in the manga spread. The main cast and architecture are relatively simple, but the dragon scale is highly detailed, and the shadows on it are much heavier, so it immediately bursts out from the page. That's where the oppressive feeling comes from. But in the anime, you can judge for yourselves. The dragon almost blends into the space. There's barely any contrast between it and the environment, so visually it feels harmless as the world around it. Of course, that probably has something to do with the budget. I'll come back to that later. The third reason is the escape scenes. The moment where Agat uses fire to push the dragon back is actually pretty tense. But after that, the group runs, and the camera just locks into a third-person view. It barely moves. The music fades out. All we hear are footsteps. That sound doesn't really belong in chase scenes. It works better when a character are trapped in a space and trying to find a way out, like this. In a chase scene, tension usually comes from shaky camera work, distorted movement of characters, someone stumbling, panic in their faces, and the sound of the monsters right behind them. The manga doesn't handle this perfectly either, but at least it keeps showing the dragon's shadow circling above them the whole time. The threat never leaves the page. In the anime, the dragon temporarily disappears, and once the threat disappears, so does the tension. Before I go further, yes, this is criticism of Witch Hat Atelier anime adaptation, but I really love this story. I'm also working on the videos breaking down what it does well creatively and what writers can learn from it. If you are into the world building techniques or magic systems, feel free to subscribe for the next ones. Now that I've talked about the tension problem, let's get to the part that felt worst to me in the anime: Tetia's breakdown. In the story, Tetia reaches the dead end and starts yelling. The look in her eyes hurts Coco and makes Coco blame herself. The first problem is the anime's use of close-up. In the manga, Tetia just yells immediately, but in the anime, they cut to a close-up of her mouth. Even if they were going to use a close-up, at least her face should have had some distortion, some fear in it, because this is an emotional collapse. If we compare it to Attack on Titan, it's still fear, still directed at a child, but Eren's scene has much stronger expressive power. You might say, Witch Hat Atelier is a fairy tale style story. That's true, but once the story has already raised the stakes to life and death, what's wrong with using a little more realism in the performance? Especially when the manga actually portrays Tetia's expression more vividly here. The second problem is that Tetia's emotional progression never gets built up. And honestly, this is also a problem in the manga. I was actually hoping the anime would improve it, but it didn't. Tetia's despair had huge potential. She has a dream, but she might die before she reaches it. She wanted to help Coco, but now she might pay for that choice with her life. That combination of conflict could make her feel guilt, regret, and fear. But she's just a kid. The only way she can release those feelings is by lashing out at Coco. That emotional setup is fantastic on paper. If handled properly, it will show how complex she is, how much she regrets this, how much she values Dream, how much she wants to blame Coco, and yet how kind she is because deep down she still doesn't want to hurt Coco. But both the manga and the anime skip straight to yelling. Personally, I think despair is gradual. The moment she realizes it's a dead end, that's where it should start. She should see there's no escape, watch the dragon get closer, feel fear, think of her dream, fall into despair, then finally break. Unfortunately, neither version fully shows that process. Now let's talk about the soundtrack. I don't know much about music, so this is just my personal impression. To me, episode 4 has too much empty space in its music. During the chase scene, during the moment when Coco blames herself, those are both places where stronger sound design could have amplified the emotion. In the manga, those scenes use black backgrounds, which intensify the negative emotion. The anime, however, softens that weight, and the music when the dragon appears, it sounds more like battle music than something creepy or horrifying. The scenes work better tend to use drums, chanting, or low strings, like this, this, and this. But that's just my take. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. So in the end, I think there are two root causes behind why episode 4 feels weak. The first is budget. It seems like the team may have saved the budget for episode 1, 3, and 5, which left episode 4 weaker visually and musically. That's understandable but still unfortunate. The second is that different creators have different ideas of what adapting into anime actually means. Anime doesn't just replay the manga's event frame by frame. It should use motion to amplify the manga's strengths, use voice acting and music to deepen emotional impact, use adaptation to fix weakness in the original. That requires a deep understanding of the manga's pace and emotional core. But sadly, episode 4 feels more like a movie manga. In some ways, it even lowers the impact of the original instead of elevating it. That makes it hard to call it a truly strong episode. But there is still time. Hopefully, as the series continues, the production team will deliver something stronger. In the coming weeks, I'll be diving deeper into the series' magic system and how it's portrayed because it's excellent. If that interests you, I'll see you in the next video.